So this is the work for April 1st, April Fool's Day, and it's about poetry, but it is not a joke. So if you are like Miss Waters, you left your ELA journal at school and you cannot go back and get it. So I have typed out the poetry vocabulary for you and included it on this page in case you need to go back and look at it. So a stanza is a paragraph of poetry. Each stanza is separated by a space, and stanzas are used to show a change in topic or a passage of time. Stanzas can also be referred to as a verse. Lines are literally one line of poetry and they make up a stanza. Rhymes are words that have the same ending sound, like cat, rat, bat. Rhythm is the beat of the poem and it makes a sound like a song. It makes it sound like a song. And then theme is the moral or lesson of the poem, what you're meant to learn from it. Imagery is the figurative language used, like onomatopoeia sound words, similes and metaphors for comparisons or alliterations. And then the meter is the beat of the poem that gives it a natural flow or rhythm. That's why poetry is meant to be read out loud. So review this page before you start. And then if you scroll, you'll find your poem called Caged Bird by Maya Angelou. So remember, when we do poetry, you have to read it 3 times. The first time you read it, you just read it through and find its literal meaning. So stanza or verse 1 says, "A free bird leaps on the back of the wind and floats downstream till the current ends, and dips his wing in the orange sun rays and dares to claim the sky. But a bird that stalks down his narrow cage can seldom see through his bars of rage. His wings are clipped and his feet are tied. He opens his throat to sing. The caged bird sings with a fearful trill of things unknown but longed for still. And his tune is heard on the distant hill, for the caged bird sings of freedom. The free bird thinks of another breeze, and the trade wind soft through the sighing trees, and the fat worms waiting on a dawn bright lawn, and he names the sky his own." So the first time reading through, we see that it's about 2 birds. One is free and one is caged. So the second time reading through, we're going to try to understand a little bit more, maybe start to get to a theme. So I'm going to read it stanza by stanza now. "A free bird leaps on the back of the wind and floats downstream till the current ends, and dips his wing in the orange sun rays and dares to claim the sky." So think about in stanza 1, what are the things that the free bird is able to do? Stanza 2. "But a bird that stalks down his narrow cage can seldom see through his bars of rage. His wings are clipped and his feet are tied, so he opens his throat to sing." Notice that this bird is in a narrow cage, meaning it's very small. He can seldom see through his bars of rage. So you notice how they use the word rage here, meaning anger, disappointment, sadness. And it says his wings are clipped and feet are tied. This means this bird has no longer the ability to fly. Stanza 3. "The caged bird sings with a fearful trill of things unknown but longed for still, and his tune is heard on the distant hill, for the caged bird sings of freedom." So it says the caged bird sings of things unknown but longed for still. So think about what the caged bird wants. And look at the last line in this stanza. And then stanza 4. "The free bird thinks of another breeze, and the trade wind soft through the sighing trees, and the fat worms waiting on a dawn bright lawn, and he names the sky his own." So think again, second reading. We already said it's about a free bird and a caged bird. What is the difference between these 2 birds and what their ability is to do? And then the last time we're going to read it for our third read and really find a theme. "A free bird leaps on the back of the wind and floats downstream till the current ends, and dips his wing in the orange sun rays and dares to claim the sky. But a bird that stalks down his narrow cage can seldom see through his bars of rage. His wings are clipped and his feet are tied, so he opens his throat to sing. The caged bird sings with a fearful trill of things unknown but longed for still, and his tune is heard on the distant hill, for the caged bird sings of freedom. The free bird thinks of another breeze, and the trade wind soft through the sighing trees, and the fat worms waiting on a dawn bright lawn, and he names the sky his own." So third read through, think about the free bird and the cage bird. Think about if this poem is actually referring to birds, or if it's supposed to mean more than just birds. Think about differences in people and how we might be treated. Looking at the difference between a free bird, what it's able to do, and a cage bird, what it's not able to do. So your questions that you're going to answer over to the side. Number 1, ask what is the theme of the poem? A says all birds should be free. B said no one should be kept in a cage. C said all people deserve freedom. And D, birds can travel the world. So think about what Maya Angelou was referring to when she wrote this poem. Number 2, why is the poem broken into different verses or stanzas? Remember that a stanza is made up of lines and is separated by the space. So this poem had 4 stanzas. So why did the poet choose to break it up this way? A said the verses show the order in which the bird becomes free. B said the verses separate the poem so it isn't hard to read. C said the verses show the differences in the free bird and the cage bird. And D says the verses allow the reader to take a break between each one. Number 3 asks, why does this poem use meter? For this, I don't want a constructed response. I just want a 1 or 2 sentence answer. So if you go back up and look at your vocabulary word of meter, it said the beat of the poem, the natural flow or rhythm. So thinking about this poem, why did Maya Angelou choose to create a meter, a beat of the poem? What does it do for it? Think about your elements of poetry and what poetry is meant to do. And then number 4 goes on to the next page as well. Which of the following is the best summary of the poem? So I want to know in 1 or 2 sentences what was this whole poem about. A said the cage bird must sit in bars all day and dream of freedom, while the free bird experiences the beauties of the world. The cage bird is jealous of the free bird. The free bird wants to help the cage bird become free, so he risks his life to help. And the last summary is the free bird and the cage bird are not different at all and live the same lifestyle. So as you're going through these, use your strategy of crossing out answers you know are wrong. Focus on this first question about theme. Think about with our third read through. Is this poem really just about birds, or is it talking about a different group? Then I want you to think about why Maya Angelou broke it into these 4 separate stanzas. What was she trying to get across with her point? So remember that you can highlight your answer so you can't click on it. And I will go through and check it. If I see some incorrect answers, I'll return it to you and make some notes so you can go back and fix.